This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, May 15th, 2018, episode 174. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for joining us here for another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig and visit our website, infectionpodcast.com. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. Joining me, as he does each and every week, Mr. Brian Aldridge. Hey, Brian. How are you?
Hello. Good to see you. If you want to find me, look at Boise Computer on Twitter. Of course, you can go to my blog, biteoftech.com. And of course, our website is the place that if you're looking for past shows, you're looking for information on where to catch maybe just our audio only forums. Also, we have links to our Discord, which is where people pretty much chat throughout the whole week. Whenever we're playing games together, we're on there talking. We also have news channels. So if you want to maybe post something for an article that you think we should cover during the show, we have a nice channel in there that you can just post links throughout the week. And then I always check those over when I'm going over the feeds. So there's a good chance if it's a good article that we'll talk about it. And then, we'll have some other stuff that we're going to have on there as well. But we have one page that shows our servers, the different things that we're hosting at the time. So if you're wanting to play games, like right now we're doing Arma. We have an Arma server that's been really popular. We have a Conan server going right now for people that want to experience some of the new content in the 1.0 release that they did. So if you're looking for that information, just jump on our website. We have a servers button on the upper right. Click that and it'll give you a link to be able to connect. Now I've taken down the Ragnarok one temporarily. We haven't had people playing that a lot, so I don't know. We'll have to decide if we want to put that back up or what we want to do. But we got Conan going right now, Arma, and then we'll be doing for our Game of the Week, when we'll announce that in a little bit, we'll be doing another server for Game of the Week on Friday.
Yes, and the thing there is head on over to the website. It's infectionpodcast.com/servers, plural, with an S, and we'll keep that up to date as close to possible as what is actually live and what actually isn't. So that's the place to get all that information. Or you can ask in Discord too. We've got a bunch of Arma people hanging out in our Arma. We actually had to make an Arma chat because we had such an influx of people playing Arma. So we've got our Arma chat now, along with our general chat channel, plus all of the other news channels, servers, the deals, so on and so forth. So
and a lot of times, like yesterday, throughout the whole day, we had 10 people on simultaneously on the server throughout the whole day. So there's a lot of people playing Arma, and we're just continuing, hoping that continues to grow.
Yes, and again, all the information on that. If you head on over to our YouTube channel, actually, there's a video. Maybe you're a noob like myself, and was kind of didn't really know how to get started with the Arma mod. I played Arma 2, and I knew there was like a separate launcher, and you had to find the mods online, and so I made a quick little YouTube video on how to connect to the server. It's much, much easier than it used to be on older versions of Arma. So you can check that out. Again, all the links, all the information on our website, infectionpodcast.com. And before we go any further, we want to thank our friend Infected Heisenberg for the subscription. It looks like he subscribed a little bit earlier on this morning. At least that's what my Streamlabs is saying. So thank you, Heisenberg, for that. Of course, he remembers. We met him out at PAX East last year. Had burgers in the middle of a snowstorm at Boston Burger Company. So it was cool to meet him. And whenever 7 Days to Die finally does their update, we'll get that server back up and running. And of course,
I was digging today. I was hoping to find a nugget of information about the release date.
Nada.
And there's just no information. Someone did post on their thing saying, well, hopefully by the end of 2019,
oh my God,
we'll have the Alpha 17.
It's crazy. And the thing that's
coming up on a year. I mean,
yeah,
a year before you know it.
It is. And not to kind of sidetrack from it a lot, but it is crazy that it's tough for us because we do the show every week. So you can make the argument that literally 50 weeks, 50 episodes of 174 episodes have gone by without any news on the game. So I understand that there's a couple of games. Another one that does that is Hurt World. Kind of does. They do bigger dumps of information.
They do like a dev blog.
Yeah.
So I was actually doing some research on Hurt World this week.
Oh, okay.
Just trying to get some information. And I didn't get information that I thought was relevant for a segment, but since you brought it up, I'll mention it.
Okay.
But one thing is they do a dev blog and they talk about a lot of information, but a lot of times that information that they talk about in their dev blog doesn't actually make it to release. And so they're always saying, here's a future thing that we're looking at. Here's a future thing. And there's been a lot of frustration in the Hurt World community that stuff is never seen. So
that's common.
Yeah. And so I don't know. They've lost a lot of their player base in Hurt World just because of that. One thing that 7 Days to Die does that kind of prevents that is they don't sit there and say, we're going to do all these things and then have them never happen. It just takes them a long time to actually put a release out.
Yeah. So
but I think the progress is being made. Like when they do it, when they put out the release, the stuff that they said is going to be there will be there.
Absolutely.
I think they're trying to squeeze too much into this Alpha 17.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem. You literally look at PUBG has launched and then is now released in the amount of time that we've had zero. 16. Zero major updates to 7 days. So it's a little crazy, but when they do that, of course, as we've done, I think 2 or 3 times in the past, probably 2. We'll host the 7 Days to Die server for typically 3 or 4 days, and we'll just play it religiously for a couple of days and kind of grind through that. So when that comes back around, we'll get that up and going, and that's part of the advantage of this new server that we've got access to. It's going to make that stuff a little bit easier to do. We won't have to stress Brian's web server out quite so much. So thank you again to Heisenberg for the sub or the 1 month subscription here during the show. We really do appreciate it. And with that, Brian, we got to we got to do what we got to do. It's all about the cash money here in Infection. If you've learned one thing in 174 weeks, it's that all we do is talk about money, 24/7.
That's true.
So it is official. We're going to PAX. We talked about this. I booked my plane tickets last week or the week before. Brian's booked. Lance is getting ready to book. We've got our Airbnb situation dealt with. We're ready to go. We're waiting for press passes at this point. But our goal is live, and we are 107 days away from PAX West 2018 here. And we've got the same goal as last year. Fortunately, we were able to we actually went a little bit over last year what we wanted to spend because we had to purchase some pieces of equipment and so on and so forth. So we were able to squeeze the same goal out here. So we've got our same goal of $500, which we'll be raising over the next 100 or so days. And this is going to cover part of our room and board, potentially help with some travel expenses. We do need to also purchase some swag to give away at the shows we've done in years past. So that's what this is going to help and go for. So if you donate to the show over the next 100 days on Streamlabs, which is where people typically donate, it will get added into this counter. Now we've got a couple of things here that we're going to be doing. So first thing is and we'll keep track of this on our end with Streamlabs. For every $20 that you donate, your name will get put into a raffle for a piece of canvas art. If you're not familiar with canvas art, this is what you would expect. It's not this specifically, but something like this. A piece of canvas wrapped around a wooden frame, and we're going to give away one of those at the end of the donation goal here. So coming up towards September when this event's actually going on. So we'll go ahead and do that. And thank you, Amnon, for the $50 donation. He says it's for Airbnb, not for hookers. So we've got to. There goes Nick. We've got to be very careful. Hopefully, an auditor doesn't show up. We may be in some trouble. So for every $20 that you donate, and we'll round up with the $20 donations. With all of those, you'll get your name entered for a piece of canvas art, and the way we're going to do it is our buddy Lance is going to be producing it. He's produced a lot of our assets, our mic flags and stuff like that. Our logo, yeah. So he's been producing stuff for us. And what we'll do is you'll get to pick a game or maybe some type of image that you want printed on canvas like this, and we'll send that to you. So we'll do one of those at the there's one caveat that we discussed, and that is
if you live outside the United States and the shipping will be
Excess of
abnormally
$20.
high.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we'll do is if it's in the United States, we'll pay for the shipping. That'll be included. But if you are outside, all that we do is ask that you pay the difference between us shipping in the United States versus shipping to you wherever you're at. And that, so you're still eligible, but let's say you live in Siberia and you have a really weird, shipping rate, then we just ask you to pay the difference between that, that $20. So whatever's over $20 for shipping.
Yep.
Oh, and we'll ship with whatever is most resourceful to get it to you. But whatever it does cost to get that to you is what we'll ask.
So we've got that. We've also got a couple of donation goals that we're going to hit. So when we hit our $250 donation goal, which I hope we will, we hit our full goal last year, so I'm not really concerned about it. But when we hit our $250 donation goal, which will be halfway, what we're going to do is Thursday when we get there, we've planned a little bit better this year. So instead of getting there Thursday night, wink, wink, Brian, and missing your plane and getting there at 11 o'clock, we've all gotten there pretty early. Donnie donated $20 saying this money is for the hookers. So we're back in business. We're rocking and rolling with that.
Nick will now know what to do with this Saturday night.
We're back. I don't even remember what I was saying. With getting there early. So what we're going to do for our $250 donation or goal is we're going to do a before PAX kind of looking forward to the show, which will go through some of the, I guess, the vendors that are going to be the game companies, the games that we're going to stop by, and just kind of do an overview of what our thoughts are, what we're looking forward to, panels, so on and so forth. Bingo. So we're going to do some stuff like that. And thank you, Green Man Cartoons, for the 4-month subscription. We appreciate that. So that'll be our $250.
I think that would be a good opportunity too, because we'll have the names, as you said, of some of those places that we'll be able to talk to.
Yeah.
And so if we're kind of doing a live show on there, people could maybe give some input of what maybe they want to ask.
Exactly.
Because that's one thing is we really want to come up with relevant questions. I think that's one difference between us and a lot of the media that we saw there. We weren't asking cookie cutter questions. We were asking questions that were from people who actually play those games. And I think that's one thing that made a big difference. And even the developers, when they were speaking to us, realized that, okay, these guys are asking questions as if they actually have played this game before. So, so I think that's something that would be good for that initial goal, is to get some of those questions from the viewers of, especially for titles that maybe they're passionate about, that we have an opportunity.
Well, there's a question in chat for you, Brian. At what level do you do tequila shots until you fall over? Is there a donation goal for that?
That would be higher than the $500.
So that'll be our 250 goal, and that'll be it. It'll be looking forward to the show, what we're planning on doing, and as Brian is saying, relevant questions. What do you actually want to hear? Which is, IGN and nothing against IGN, but I mean they don't really care about the games that are there. They're just going there. They're covering the big boys, but that's about it. They're not talking to the small developers like Darwin Project. What's their name? Scavenger Studio.
Yep.
They're not talking to them. Well, they did towards the end of the show, but they weren't talking to them like we were. So that's our 250 goal.
Yeah, they didn't talk to them until they realized, oh, these guys are, maybe a big deal.
Exactly.
At that point, they're like, oh, we'll ask them some questions.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised at how many developers there were there. And we went through and looked at, I think, every booth.
Right? Yeah,
we
pretty damn close.
We looked and said, is this relevant to us? It gave every single booth an opportunity, and that's the reason that we were able to find them on the first day.
And the
first hour of the show.
And we even interviewed some companies that turned out, because there was games there that we'd never heard of that were not even really public, that we interviewed, and it just turned out to not be what we thought it was based on the name, and we just kind of canned those interviews. Maybe we should have uploaded them, but I remember there was one space game that we, I'm not talking about Elite Dangerous. There was some weird like space Mars game that we talked to, and it turned out to be nothing like what we were thinking it was. So that's our 250 goal, where you can kind of, we'll do a little pre-show sometime Thursday night. Might be late because we're on the West Coast, but something Thursday night. We'll have a chance to ask some questions and stuff like that. We'll put out a tweet so people can ask questions in there. We'll answer them on the air. Our 375 goal, this is what I'm really looking forward to, is, and this is, of course, stipulating that we've got good bandwidth, which I think we will. We're going to be in Seattle. We're going to try to do some streaming from the show floor. Last year, we did a couple of live hits on Twitch from the show floor, but I think this year we're going to rig it up, so we're going to have a again, saying we have bandwidth, we're going to rig up a phone onto our camera rig and kind of be doing, and just kind of keep it rolling as much as we can. And that's kind of, that's what our plan is. So we can just keep that kind of rolling in the background, so that even if you're not seeing you can see the interview. I don't know what we'll do during the interviews, because that may be a little weird. But we'll keep that on there and try to do some, not really IRL per se, but just kind of keep that camera running on in the background while we're walking around the show floor and talking to people and so on and so forth. And then our big goal, our $500 goal, is our full PAX bonus recap show, which we will do in person. Brian, Lance, and myself, we will do that like we did last year. We'll plan a little bit better for it. We didn't necessarily have the proper equipment to do it last year, because it was we really didn't know what to expect for the show. Now we've got a better idea of what we need to bring and what we don't. So we'll do that as our full goal. And then, of course, the week after the show, when we're back in our normal locations, it'll kind of be a PAX recap show. But we'll actually do this at PAX either late Saturday night or late Sunday night. I guess it'll be late Saturday night or Sunday night, depending on when we do that. So those are our donation goals, and I want to thank, of course, our friend Amnon and Donnie for coming in right off the bat on that. We're already up to $70 on our $500 goal, and we'll be running this through the end of the trip here, which is in about 107 days. So we thank everybody for supporting us. And if you don't want to support directly, you can also support the show through all of our other means: Humble Bundle, the Twitch subscriptions, and so on and so forth. Amazon
and
affiliates.
If you're someone who's going to be at the show,
yes.
If you're going to be in Seattle during that time, you're going to be at the show, be in the area, let us know, because what we would like to do is maybe go out for dinner on Saturday night or something, kind of do what we did with Heisenberg. I mean, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But if you plan on being at the show, being in the area, just let us know, and we can pick a place to go to dinner and maybe catch up with some people.
Yep, little
in Seattle. So.
Little Infectio podcast meetup. Maybe we'll do something like that. So I guess that's enough PR blather. And obviously this is our big recap. We'll remind every couple of weeks how this is going to lay out. But that's what our plan is for PAX East. PAX West. We're looking forward to it. I think we're gonna have a great time. So we're rocking and we're ready to go for it. So, all right, we've got that done. I'll ask you, Brian. I've got to apologize. Game of the week. I was looking forward to Game of the Week. I was planning on Game of the Week. Everything was good to go, and then I got an opportunity I could not resist to see one of my favorite bands in Steely Dan. A Friday night, and I couldn't pass that up. I'm a big Steely Dan fan, so I unfortunately had to punt Conan for Steely Dan, which I feel bad about. But I will ask you, Brian, how did Conan go Friday night?
It went well. So, and there's been people playing on and off since that time, but it was we got to where, Joe, I think, is in his level 50 something.
Wow.
So there are people who are playing it quite a bit. I did do a little bit accelerated, but it's still like I'm in the 20 something level. And there's a lot to it. Alex, thank you for the $10 donation. Yes, he's giving us a roof to stay under.
Yeah, he's saying this is for the hotel or some shit. I would appreciate that.
Yes. So on there we played, and I think we got to the point where now at least where I'm seeing new content. Because that was something where I said my goal was to get us past that initial what we've already played, kind of get to the next thing and see some of the new content. So I was able to, yesterday, I ran up north and got to the base. They built a pretty big base so far, up more toward the north or middle of the map. And, there's dungeons that they're starting to discover. There's tons of crafting recipes. There's a nice progression system. I don't think it's something that we'll play for months and months like we did with Ark.
Yeah.
But I think it is something that at least for the next week or two, if we could get enough people to where we can do a couple dungeon runs, that's my goal, is just to get to some dungeon runs, so we can get in there, experience some of the dungeon, and see some of that content.
So
they've created, because we've seen nothing of that yet. I mean, that wasn't even, dungeons weren't even a thing when we played last time.
So I'm gonna grill you a little bit, because I just really have not had the time to jump into the server. Last week we were talking about our initial experience with the game, which there wasn't really a whole lot to do once you built a somewhat decent starter base. There was kind of a lull of content. So what did you find, if anything, after you had built a base? Were you able to occupy your time with something else? Were there time sinks in the game?
Yeah, it definitely has a survival aspect to it, because that's one thing, is if you're out there just fighting the whole time and trying to get loot and things like that, your health will degenerate. You'll become very hungry or thirsty. So you actually have to, a lot of games you kind of lose that. Like, that doesn't even become an issue.
Yeah.
As you get into the level 20s and up. So I know that's one thing I noticed, is you have to actually keep an eye on that, because you'll run out of water, and without that, your health doesn't go up. There's not some magic thing that makes your health go up. Then you have to run and go find some source of water. Also, the going and getting the metal and things like that. There's definitely a progression system. I built a base. The initial base that I built, I put all the crafting stuff that I can make around it, but there was no metal nodes that you could get in that whole area. So, but then if you go up north, there's ton. But of course, the creatures and things like that are more dangerous in those regions.
Yeah.
So you need to get the metal to be able to get the weapons that can fight those creatures. So there's a grind to get there and kind of get to that level. And then beyond that, then if you try to go to the colder region, you have to get the clothes, which means you have to get all the leather working and get the warm clothes. So I think they've done a good job of keeping it stretched out to where you have those time sinks of, oh, but I just got to get this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Deacon was talking in Discord earlier about how he wants to make this pretty much the portal room, the one that lets you teleport to different areas of the map. And he was talking about all the things that he had to get to be able to get that, the things that he had to kill and what he had to gather. And that was a long, drawn out thing. Like, that's going to take a while to do. And so there are things that aren't instant. You're not going to get them in the first 2 days. You're not going to get them maybe in a week. And I think that that's what this kind of game needs, because if people run out of, just like we did before, you hit that cap, you run out of what's that next thing I want, then you lose interest and you just start playing a different game.
Exactly.
So I think they've done a good job of, the map room. So that's what they called in there. But I think they've done a good job of keeping enough things in there and all those different crafting things. It's a much bigger map now. So there's different zones to go to. So I think they've done a good job. But as I said, I don't know that I'd want it to be something I'm playing for 6 months. I don't think there's that kind of content, but I think you can get a couple, you could get a month out of it if you're wanting to max out, get through the dungeons. I don't think it's going to be like Ark, where then you just start having mega tribes just trying to maintain. I mean, I would hope not, because that's what Ark turned into, is people aren't really doing anything. They're just getting more and more dinos. They're getting bigger and bigger bases. They're just trying to hold the server. So I don't know if it's going to turn into that kind of a game, but I think that they've done a similar thing to Ark on getting the progression there.
All right. Well, I think that kind of sums up what you're talking about. So I'd recommend, if you're a Conan fan, jump into. We've got a server up. There's a whole bunch of other servers up, and this week I'm going to reach out to the Conan team and try and schedule an interview with them here in the next couple of weeks. I think things have died down enough where they'll have some spare time to come on the show. I mean, there's no reason to inconvenience them when they're launching to come on here and talk about the game. They've been on the show before. We've talked with them before. So but we will get them on here hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And we'll go from there with it. And have them on, talk about some of the differences, and hopefully we'll get our buddy Jens Erik back on. And if not, we'll get somebody else from the Conan.
Now,
team.
do we want to just jump into
Some Conan news?
Yeah, do we want to jump into Conan? One thing, should I mention the game of the week that we're going to do?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We're not doing that now. We haven't said anything about it. So what I want to do is the Forest.
Oh, okay.
And so that's one that we'll host it ourselves. It'll be kind of similar. It'll be a private server, just so that we can experience it. see some of the new content. They got a lot of quests, things like that. So we'll do the forest, play it for a couple days, check it out, see how far we can get, and then I'm sure we'll spin it down after that. But this will be the forest. Everyone should have it. And they've come out of alpha. They've got their official release, and it has all the quest stuff in there. So I think we should be able to do that.
All right. Well, we look forward to that. That'll be quite cool coming up here Friday night, 8 p.m. in our Discord. You can find all the information for that over on our website, infectionpodcast.com. Yes. And then just click on Discord in the sidebar and join our server, and we can host that, right? That's a self-hosted server?
Yes. Yep. We will host it on there. So it'll be a private one. We'll put a password on it because we found that having people on there didn't work out very well.
Yes. So definitely make sure you're in our chat for that, so that you can you'll get the password. That's when we'll promote something like that.
Yep.
All right, Conan news. What do we got here, Brian?
All right. So they put out on. So this was on today. I mean, the 15th, they came out with a new patch. So this is live. And then also they did make a note. They were having a lot of issues with servers.
Yep.
And that was one thing that we were making a comment on, of how few servers there are. And that's one thing that they have done, is they've added a lot more servers on there. So, and they're adding more servers. So if you went on there and you found, man, all these servers are full, and you're wanting to do a PvP server or special type of server, that's something that you will need to go check in there again, because they have been adding, and they're adding more servers here over the next couple of days. Because we had talked about this a little bit last week. You don't want to over anticipate and put too many servers on there.
Yeah.
So that's something that, if I think they were waiting and letting, adding servers, if people are still interested, they're going to slowly adding them on there. And they'll get to the point where they feel like there's enough people, playing, and the other people that just want to experience it that one time have died off. So we'll see how many they end up doing. But they did a patch today. They removed what they call the Red Shell plugin. That's a marketing plugin. I think now that they're released, they're maybe not so concerned about it. If you bought the game, you bought it, and they can see the live players. But they removed it's called Red Shell. It's just a marketing thing. If you want to play a PvP-F server, that is now a PvP- I think it's C server. It's kind of weird with their font. But I think it's a PvE- is that community? I don't know. Do you know what the F was?
I don't remember.
PvP-F.
I will figure it out. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, so they've done that to PvE-C. They fixed a character creation crash that was happening. A problem with health went back to max after taking damage, which you probably wouldn't be too disappointed about unless you're damaging someone else, doing PvP. But they did have a bug with the health going back to max after taking damage. They fixed the auto lock and dodging system, which sometimes, and that's where you can actually lock, because it's a very melee oriented combat system. They have it where you can sit there and lock onto a target, and then that makes it so your swings will go towards that one target. It works very well. If you're not using it and you're just kind of swinging randomly, take a look at the lock system that they have. The blended javelin no longer does concussion damage in melee, only throwing. Elixirs and some other buffs no longer get canceled as if they were healing buffs. They fixed a crash caused by loot bags. They fixed a crash that could happen when building near destroyed placeables. And then they fixed a crash in the decay system. So that is this last patch. And that just came out today. So our server is up to date with that one. So if you don't update, you won't be able to connect to it. So
gotcha.
All right, here one second. I got to change a battery.
Okay. So I'm quickly looking up, trying to figure out what the PvP-F is. I remember reading it in the patch notes, but for some reason I can no longer find what the PvP-F is. Oh, it's the timed PvP. Yes, so it's their timed PvP variety. So they've got PvP, PvE and then PvPF, which is the timed servers. Thank you for that, PH. So they've got their 4 server types there, and I think it's still a valid. I think it's still a valid website, but Conan-Exiles.com was the server list. It looks like it still is. So if you head on over to Conan-Exiles.com, it's not an official website, but it is a server website, and you can see who all is playing on what servers and stuff like that over there. So that's what the PvPF is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I didn't hear what you said, so.
Oh, it's
but they did. So
it's time PvP with no base destruction and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. And that's maybe, some people don't want to have PvP all the time, and so I think that's a good.
That's the one with the limited. I think that's the one with the limited raid times where it's only between certain. It's like
so you can still get some of the building in.
Yeah, which people I really do like that idea. That was our biggest issue with H1Z1, is that without having a person from every time, which at one point at our peak we did literally have somebody on the servers probably 20 hours a day. We had almost full coverage of our base. But once the group started dying out, because the game started dying out, it became impossible to really build a base, because every time you'd log in, even after just 5 or 6 hours of being offline, it was gone. So I'm not necessarily opposed to this window rating period. And it's set up so I want to say it's like 5 o'clock Eastern or 6 o'clock Eastern to maybe 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night Eastern. Which it's clearly meant for North American players, but I don't think I'm opposed to this idea. I know I was reading a lot online. People are upset about it, but realistically, I mean, what can you do if your base is getting raided at 1:30 in the morning?
Well, and you don't want it to turn into Rust. I mean, Rust is like that gone wrong, right? It's the whole rating system that's just gone overboard, and it's just turned into the only point is rating. And I think that, with some of the recent changes that they've been doing, they've been trying to get away from that. But a game doesn't really want to become a toxic, let's just destroy each other's bases constantly, which I think was kind of the downfall a little bit of H1Z1.
Yeah. Well, and the biggest problem with H1Z1 was that things weren't getting destroyed or taken legitimately. There was hackers that were coming in and would clear out your crop field. I mean, we had a point where we would have timers running. Was it 45 minutes to grow corn or something like that?
Yes.
And we would log in at the 45th minute or the 46th minute, and it was all gone because a hacker was watching over it and was able to take everything before we could even log in to grab it. So I don't mind the. This is a good. I haven't heard of anybody else doing this on a wide scale. I mean, this is an official server type that the Funcom people are hosting. So I haven't heard anybody else doing anything like this. But I do think this is this is a step in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, this is, if you look at what Conan is, it's a place I think that they want to tell a story in.
Yeah,
that is a big goal of this. It's not just a mindless PvP game. All the Conans before, I mean, they're based on a movie, they're based on a story. And so I think that they want to have it be where your goal is, part of it at least, is to go discover the world and to not just run around and kill each other. So if you're looking to do that, but you want the PvP mix, go check it out. And of course, let us know, if you find a server and you see some of the responses of people on that. Does it turn into just a mindless PvP fest during those times? Or I'd be kind of interested to see how it makes the mindset of the whole server on PvP. Do they set up times and like, hey, let's go and fight each other during these times? Or, it's kind of probably unique.
I would assume that's the mentality is, you get home from work, you make dinner, and then it's like, all right, I'm going to sit down now and I'm going to, raid.
Go do some PvP.
Raid for 2 hours. And then there's no base raiding, but, raid is in just kind of run around the server and try to kill people. And then go, and then, after that time is over with, you can walk around and not have to worry about every shoot on sight, which was another big issue with H1Z1. It was always KOS. 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Didn't matter who, when, where, why. It was always KOS.
Yeah. Friendly.
No. Yeah, it was just because there was just
So,
it was just the player base was so toxic. You had to KOS or you were dead yourself. Which you know is obviously part of the PvP element, but I mean that just gets old. When every time you see any other player in a game, if they're armed, they will kill you. The interactions just suck.
yep.
So that's Conan Exiles. We will be getting them on the show here in the next couple of weeks to kind of talk about the release and their struggles and stuff like that. So stay tuned, and we'll look forward to that here in the next few weeks or so.
And then, so let's go on to some PUBG news. There's not a huge amount of news with PUBG this week, but they did their Sandhawk testing patch, and so that's the Sandhawk that's on testing, and this is something that they then rolled out to live. So if you check on the 10th, I think it was the next day, the next day they rolled that to the experimental servers. So if you go to PUBG experimental, that is Sandhawk on there now, and so you're able to play it. What they did is they applied the same weapon balance and item spawn changes from the current PUBG live. They put that onto this. So if you go to the testing server, you should have those same numbers. They've said they've adjusted the item spawn balance for Sandhawk specifically by increasing the overall item spawn amount, adjusting the AR spawn balance in the world. I mean, that's one thing that everybody kind of relied on the AR, and they've really been trying to make it to where people are willing to use other guns.
Yeah.
But I think they overdid it. And so now they're increasing the total amount of ARs in the world. Because I think they knocked it way down, realized that now they had less ARs than everything else. So now they're bringing it back up. They said they slightly decreased the ratio of M4s, but actual spawn ratio of M4s will remain similar to before. Increase the ratio of the M16 and the AKM. Before boarding the plane, you can now...
This one is great. You can now throw apples at people in the pregame lobby.
You can now throw apples, which will be in your inventory before boarding the plane. Now, I guess they give people something to do.
Yeah. Now, this next one is pretty interesting. This is that they've changed the way that the red zone works. And I don't know if we've ever even had a full explanation of how the red zone works. Maybe we haven't. We either talked about it forever ago or we just missed it. But they've got some new rules here. So this is their paint document of how these red zones work. So they say generally red zones will no longer appear within the safe zone. Let me see if I can annotate here, help it a little bit better. So this is the safe zone in this document. That's the safe zone. They say, but there are some exceptions, and that's what they're showing in this document. When the blue circle is too close to the white circle, with example below, which is this example, that's the only time you'll see the red zone into the safety zone, which is a good call. And this is a pretty typical zone setup where you've got the safety zone in, like, you know, kind of almost hugging the blue. And you're fortunate if you're on that side because you only have to move a couple of feet every time the zone moves because it's barely moving in on you. But they've redone how this works, and part of the rationale behind it is they're saying that it's a little riskier to now play outside the safe zone. I've never found personally the red zone to be a deterrent. I mean, I've never been killed by one, so maybe they need to. The problem is you run into what happens with H1Z1, which is these random explosions kill you when you're having a good game.
Well, I think that was the frustration, is when someone was in the safe zone, or whatever you want to call it. But you're in that white circle and you're supposedly in a safe area. All of a sudden, a red zone comes out of nowhere and is able to kill you.
Yeah.
So I think the red zone, I would think of it as another something to kind of move you away from certain zones and into the safe zone. It's not just the blue zone coming in, but it's also something that's driving you towards that center. And the problem is that when it was totally random, it was just happening in the middle of the safe zone. And so I think that this makes more sense with the idea of the game, because I remember on H1Z1, we'd complain a lot that it just didn't make sense. We're in the final, small little area, and then a red zone pops up. And I think that wasn't how they intended. I think that was something they fixed fairly quickly. but they would still have it to where throughout the game, no matter what, it would just show up in random places. So I think that this is much better, and you'll probably get less rage videos on YouTube now from red zones. But this was never as bad as what I remember H1Z1 being.
Yeah, which is just literally completely random.
Well, and the planes in H1Z1 wouldn't always be lined up with where the carpet bombing was happening either. So you'd be like, oh, the planes are going over there, and all of a sudden you get carpet bombed out of nowhere, and the plane's not over you. So I think this is better because I see on the map where the red zone is. Okay, I'm going to go inside for a bit, let it pass, and then I'll go back outside. So I think that's why I haven't died as much, because it's not as random.
Now, Ross is giving a tip of the week here in the chat pretty much. He's saying, I don't really worry about the red zones, but I do use them for noise cover, though. So you could use them to shoot at somebody, or use them to maybe drive a vehicle where somebody inside of a building isn't going to hear.
It's a good opportunity to sneak up on somebody. Maybe
absolutely.
You hear someone outside and like you hear the plane starting to come. You could then sneak, and actually move around the house with less chance of them hearing you or where you're at.
Yeah, so I think that's overall a really cool thing that they've changed here. And again, I don't really remember if we've seen them actually officially say how the red zones worked. They changed a whole bunch of names. I'm not going to go through all of them. There's like 20 names that they've changed, so we're not going to go through that. But they've added a couple,
they're changing them to more of names that match this new like theme of zone.
Yeah, which is
like Painan. They're just Ban Thai for the beach. I mean, those are just their names that match now that they have a specific place that this is modeled after. They're more likely to be what names would be there.
Yeah. So
and then they made some slight adjustments to the vehicles. They added new areas to the map. And that one that's that kind of crater inside of the volcano, I guess it would be, that's turning out really well. They have some screenshots of that. Tambang, Lekawai, these are all just different zones that they've created, and I think that this is very unique. It sets it apart from those other maps. One thing that I think they've done a really good job of is so they've got their kind of Midwest, deserty kind of map. They have their original island map, which I think was more of not really done with a specific theme in mind. I think it was just, we're going to make a game and make a map. And then this one, which is a very unique look from either one of those. So I don't know. Do you have a guess on what they might do next?
Well, I don't know what they're going to do next, but Judd is posting a link to a website called PUBG wintermap.com. And for some reason, my mouse is acting up on me here. And this appears to just be, it's just a bunch of fans that are, they're just essentially talking about their idea for a winter map. I would assume a winter map is in the works. You've got your rain foresty map in this new map. You've got your desert, and then you've got the island, which is just your typical like arc. The island. There's just throw a bunch of crap on the map and see what happens. So I think a winter is a next step. Other than that, I don't really. I don't know. You go to the remaster route. Maybe they redo the island, and maybe clean it up a little bit.
I think they will update the island because that definitely didn't have as much detail put into it as these other two maps, and so I think they will do a redo. Of course, you'll have people that want, you don't want to run in a situation like H1Z1 did, where now everyone's demanding that original one back. So I think if you just consistently update it and make it look better while keeping everything the same, but say, hey, let's go and let's update the buildings so that they look better. Now let's update the ground textures, but keeping everything in the exact same spot, and then you won't have people revolting, and they probably won't even, they'll just notice that it's better. And they won't say that it's drastically changed in a way different, and now they hate the game, like they did with H1Z1.
So I would either say at this point it's probably going to be winter or a redevelopment of the original map, where they just maybe add another couple. Maybe they add another couple.
Well, if people are demanding winter, it could almost even be. I mean, if they want to go off of a theme, you do something in Alaska where it's like Russia's invading, and I mean, you could go with that kind of a theme too. get something pretty unique. And on here, they're saying based on Scandinavia.
Yeah, so if you want to check that out, it's PUBGWinterMap.com. They got a whole bunch of images. I don't want to show any of them because, I mean, none of this is official. And they say even on this copyright infringement intended. But you can go ahead and check that out. And I saw this interesting article when I was on the PUBG subreddit earlier today. And it appears that PUBG has taken a page out of the Fortnite playbook, and there are now these mysterious golden chests, which if you've played in Fortnite, you know this is a very common thing. They look a little bit different, but a couple of posts popped up on Reddit and a couple of posts on Twitter were talking about or seeing these chests appearing on the new map. And then there's I found an article on it on Game Rant saying that they found these golden chests and are
there cool loot and things in there? Are they purely decoration?
I think they're purely decoration at this point. I don't believe.
I wonder if that's something they're getting in place, and then that will be perhaps they're coming up with just the spawn points for it right now.
Yeah,
and then they'll eventually kind of get it in there.
Yeah, right now it doesn't look like they do anything, but they're on the map, and of course this article references Fortnite, which I think Fortnite's got too many of them because those chests are literally all over the place. Like if you go into 3 houses, 4 houses, you're probably got you've got a 1 in 4 chance of probably getting a chest, if not more than one, depending on where you land. So I think there's maybe too many. They're not. I don't think the chests are rare. The llamas are rare, but the chests are not in Fortnite, which is all part of their fast-paced kind of keep the game moving thing. So I understand.
And if you know the map well enough, you know where to land.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Things like
what house to land on. You break the roof, fall right into the top of the garage, and there's a chest waiting there. Tilted's got those L-shaped buildings that there's I think 2 chests. There's a chest in each of those. There's a lot of them throughout the map. The soccer field in one of those towns has got a chest right in the middle of it. So.
Now Rossi brings up like one big city map. I think that would be an interesting thing. Mm-hmm. There's just a lot of places they could go. And I guess it kind of remains on the popularity, how much money is coming in from this to where they still find it worthy of continuing to put money into it. So and I think if it keeps making money, that's something that they'll end up doing. And
it will continue to make money, but then you run into the issue where we've got 3 maps. We've got 3 maps as of right now. How many maps do you make? You can't have 8 maps on PUBG. I don't think that works out very well. They've got 3 right now.
It's not Call of Duty. They're in there.
No. And even with Call of Duty, you're even with Call of Duty, I think the main map rotation is what, 6 or 7? Something like that. Yeah. Maybe
they've added a couple more.
Yeah, but those are DLC maps. I'm saying the main map rotation is like 6, 7, or 8 maps.
And those are much smaller maps compared to.
And it's a different game. But I don't think you want 8 maps in PUBG. So you almost have to get into, and I guess Overwatch is kind of the same way, where you can have a lot of maps because they're relatively small. So I think you probably start working into limited time maps. And I know it's when I say it's an expensive thing, it's expensive to develop the map and then use it limited time. But maybe you've got a map that is
they cycle them in every couple months.
Well, I'm not even saying that. Like, what if there's a map that's on 1 weekend a month?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is you have them on and you keep putting them back into the cycle so that people are like, oh, I'm going to play this weekend because this map, which I really like, is on during this week.
So that's kind of what you've got to do is you've got to do special events. Because maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think you can have 8 maps in a game like PUBG. Even though the player base is so big.
Especially at some point, though, that's going to start dwindling.
Yes, exactly.
And then you don't want to have it to where then people get so snobby about, oh, I only play on this map. And then you don't have enough. I mean, imagine if H1Z1 was 5 different maps. We had a point where you couldn't even get in the lobby on the one map that they have.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah,
I just don't think happening.
So I don't know what they're going to do. They probably need to start working on another project, to be honest with you, because I mean this game is at a point where you've got 3 maps. gameplay is pretty stable. I know it just got released, but there's got to be something next. I mean, I'm not saying they've plateaued, because I'm not saying that at all. But
But if it's going to take them a year or two to release another game, they've got to be starting now.
Well, now I think obviously Brandon, I would imagine, has hit a point where he has. I mean, I don't know this to be a fact, and hopefully we'll have a chance to talk with him at PAX. I would, if I were him, and I'm not, I would say he's probably accomplished what he wanted. I mean, the concept of battle royale is finished in this game. It's done. I mean, they've got it as good as anybody, I think, can get it. They've got good maps, a good gameplay for the most part. Yeah, there's some issues with hackers and so on and so forth. PH saying he wants to do a survival game next. I think he absolutely should. I think he can make a hell of a survival game. I mean, we're talking about this Arma 3 mod. I mean, he could make what the DayZ standalone should have been, which it's not. It's updates every 10 months. You know, what are they on? 16B now or some BS, or 10B or some BS like that. I mean,
are you talking about the new one, the standalone? It's 0.63 is the one they're testing right now.
It's ridiculous. It's like nothing ever gets. We talked about it a year ago, and it was 6.1 or something like that. I mean, it's just not a lot going on there. So
what if they realized, because he talked about having that whole modding platform, and that's been something I've been talking about recently, right? He talked about with PUBG having it be a modding. Maybe he realized, well, that type of a game mode, having battle royale, doesn't really match a modding platform, right?
No.
But a survival game, if he creates a survival game, that's something more that I think would be open to doing a modding platform.
Yeah,
so I'm wondering, maybe that's why they said, oh, we're not doing modding on PUBG. I wonder if that's what they have in mind is, all right, instead, well, let's make a survival game. Let's then keep modding in mind, and then let's just sell a bunch of copies, because I don't know that he's going to be able to sell as many copies like he was able to do with PUBG. I mean, that was like a breakout hit, and you can't guarantee that every game.
Now, and this is kind of the thing, and this is where he'll have to convince Bluehole, and I mean, I don't know how easy or hard that's going to be. But you know, the good thing is that because this game did so well, he can probably convince Bluehole or somebody else, hey, this is not going to sell. This is not going to have 4 million concurrent players, but it'll have a strong base of 20 or 30,000 like Ark, which I mean, on any scale, Ark is a very successful title. Wildcard is a successful game studio because of Ark. They've got a dedicated 20 to 30 to 40,000 player base in that game constantly. I mean, we've been talking about it for years now, constantly. So that's kind of where you'd have to move. And the good thing is he's made his money on, and I said when I know he doesn't own, he may own part of the game, I'm not sure, but Bluehole's made their money on PUBG. So the question is, do they want to make something that is not, going to be, fireworks out of the gate, but it's going to be a niche game for
an
a small
overtime
community.
type of a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we still don't have a good survival game. I mean, we're sitting here right now. We've been doing this show for 173 weeks. What's the good survival game?
I mean, that's the thing is you look at Ark. Ark isn't, in my mind, efficient enough, and it may be now, but it wasn't efficient enough to really have a modding. Like the modding in it was just a pain. I mean, you had to download 24 gigabytes or something stupid just to make mods on it. And it was you couldn't vary much from their kind of cookie cutter set thing that they had. And then other survival games, I mean, there's just not one that, I mean, Rust is not a survival game.
It is, but it's not.
I mean, but it's mostly a PvP game. It's not you versus the environment. It's you versus the maniacs that are running around the server with you. 7 Days to Die is a survival game, but the graphics aren't good on it. The updates are so infrequent. I just, it's good for what it is, but I think people realize what it is and, don't expect more than that. And I think that, you just, there's not really a super in-depth survival game to where you're like, this is survival. And perhaps Mavericks will be that, but perhaps it won't. It's really hard to say what game is going to come in and take that title, because it's really until you get it in your hands. And we've seen plenty of titles come and go, or ones that said, "Oh, this is going to be the best game ever," and then no traction, nothing happened with it.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to look at one and say that's the title that's coming in 6 months that's going to be the survival game of the year, because I've learned that marketing and hype doesn't mean anything
Yeah.
in the survival realm. It's what people like about it.
Ross is bringing up H2O. You know, we joke about Waterworld, and it's crazy because this all started. I'll make the argument, and nobody can prove me wrong because it's an opinion, that this all started around the DayZ mod. This is where the zombie craze really got started. It was the DayZ Arma 2 mod. Oh, if you also remember at the time, what's that zombie show that everybody watches?
Well, The Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead was incredibly popular. It's still popular now, but at that point in time, 2012 or 13. I mean, you're talking like it was probably 3 seasons in or 2 seasons in. Very, very popular. It was zombie. But I still do not believe that any game has done what we thought H1Z1 was going to do, and it looked like on paper it was going to be the survival game.
So I actually do have a section here that this perfectly segues into.
Okay.
Here's some upcoming games. First of all, Scum.
Oh.
Scum is, if you look at the very bottom, Scum is an upcoming game that is incredibly survival oriented. It's got a ton of survival mechanics, your characters, weight, and how much they run around and do things actually affects your character and what they're able to do. It has just a lot of systems in there that make it kind of ultra survival. And in the world, I mean, from what I've seen of screenshots and things like that, the world looks really good. They've got really good movement mechanics. I mean, you can just seamlessly run through the world. It is a zombie survival game, but I think that this, you look like it shows his strength, his constitution, dexterity, intelligence, like his body fat. So if you sit around and you just eat all day in the game, you'll gain weight and your body fat will get really high. Versus running around and controlling what you eat, or maybe what you eat makes a difference. So I think that this could possibly be a really good upcoming. I mean, you see there he's getting stuck on the door. That's not a good sign. But that's more of a level design issue.
I don't know what are they trying to. I don't know what they're trying to show here.
He's showing that they did not place those doors in correctly.
No, but there's an upper. It says in the upper left-hand corner. It says you shall not pass. So I wonder if they're just trying to determine that, or trying to show that like having that door means literally nobody can get in.
Well, I wonder, is he getting skinnier? I wonder if it's based on his weight. Because it seemed like he was bigger before. It seems like they adjusted his. No, up the other way. I don't know.
Oh, maybe they were showing how doors work in other games, and because this says how doors work in Scum. Interesting.
So they open inward or away from you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It looks like they open it. Yeah, in and away. That's interesting.
So, anyways, so that's a possibility. They've got one really cool one that's coming out that I don't know if how much it's going to be really considered. It seems like it's very story oriented, but it's overkills The Walking Dead. Have you seen any of those videos?
No, I've not. No.
The videos are amazing. And they have ones that are, so this is, I will probably get it. I mean, it may be a big letdown, but just watching the videos, they go into the story and they go for immersion 100%. And it's just a beautiful, like the cutscenes are beautiful. There was one that I was watching today, and I think it's more well done than The Walking Dead itself. The Walking Dead now, I don't think is as good cinematically as it used to be. But they've done a really good job of this one, of going in and what's that one where there's the jogger? It's a zombie one where it's got the jogger that's going through.
Talking about Tom Clancy's Division?
No, so there's one where it's like it's a game that's coming out soon, and it's got a jogger who's going and like he's infected and like he turns into a zombie as he's jogging. It's kind of a
Oh, I
silly
know the
scene.
trailer you're talking about. I don't remember though. And by the way, yeah, this is Nisco saying this CGI is incredible. This kind of looks like this kind of reminds me of a Tom Clancy game, which scares me a little bit because this is how their trailers look, and their games always suck. Sorry.
Well, I think that this one, I mean, if you just look, like, I don't know, they're not going to be able to match these cutscenes
no.
as far as beauty, but they go through and kind of tell the stories of these different characters, and they do the voice acting is amazing. The world is beautiful. So if they get anywhere even close to that, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But these cutscenes, I mean, just look like they're like movies.
Incredibly detailed. Yeah. Of course, PH saying State of Decay. Yes, it's got that State of Decay look.
State of Decay 2 is coming out. It's going to be coming out as well. So, I mean, these are all games that are coming out. State of Decay isn't. I've been looking at reviews of it, and I don't think it's going to be. It's not going to be an open world survival like we think of it. It's going to be a co-op game. I've heard that it's not living up to the hype that people were hoping for. So we'll have to keep our eye on that one, just kind of see what it ends up being. But I think Scum is one that could possibly take that open world survival role and be pretty cool if they do it right. But one I'm really watching is the Overkill's The Walking Dead.
Cool.
So that one's definitely one that we'll want to see. I don't think it comes out till later this year, if I remember correctly. Maybe they have it on that Steam page.
This is 2018.
But 2018. So I think it's at the end of this year, maybe October or something like that is when they're looking at releasing that. But right now it's just a lot of those cutscenes. So once we get some better in-game footage, I think then you'll have an idea of what is realistic. But I think they were probably frustrated with some of the other Walking Dead games that have been out there. This one, they wanted, the whole point of The Walking Dead is really telling a story.
Yes.
And if you look at the shows, it's about a story. And so I think that this one's probably going to be the closest to what, if you're a fan of the comic books, I think that this will be the closest because their goal is to tell you a story where I think that the Walking Dead TV show is kind of turned into a drama. It's turned into a soap opera in a way.
Yeah. I mean, I've never watched it, but I watch a couple of podcasts where all of the hosts watch it and talk about it, and they've not talked kindly about probably the past 2 seasons or so, maybe 3.
Yep. It's just turned into a big soap opera. So I think that this is something that, you just ignore. If you're a fan of the comic books, ignore all the TV shows and all that. Play this game and just be thinking of it in that genre. So
there's also PH and Nisco talking about Mavericks in chat, which I've seen some stuff with Mavericks. There's not really a whole lot out there about it yet, but it's a game running on CryEngine, which
is kind of scary, but
yeah, I mean CryEngine's great for what it was intended for.
Well, and we'll just have to see. I listen to them and the developers talk, and pretty much the way they talk, they just say, all right, well, here's all the previous restrictions of game development. And because we're running this new system, that works, and doesn't have all these restrictions, we'll be able to put all these things in.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's fine saying you'll be able to, but let me see them actually in there, and then let's talk.
Yeah.
So, because I think they are really relying on the fact that these new systems for their servers will not have those restrictions, but it's not really been tested and played out yet. It's not really been seen in the real world. So that'll be one of the first ones that actually show all of that. And hey, if it works, great. But until they show some gameplay, people actually doing it in real time, you just have to take their word for it for now. But I'll save my vote on that game until I actually see it in real time and happening, because we've become very diluted and jaded to promises from video game developers just because of past experience.
Yep, and that's kind of the way of the world. And as we've talked many times about how early access has kind of not destroyed, but has harmed the perception of video games. I think in the
Well, and I think
recent
the
years.
Steam Greenlight program kind of helped with that as well.
Oh yeah, they screwed up, and
Just
they know
trash games.
They got rid of it
constantly.
I mean, they knew exactly the mistake they made, which was every Tom, Dick, and Harry was a freaking video game developer, and getting their
doing asset swaps.
Yeah, well, and it wasn't even the asset swap; those didn't even bother me. It was people like Hide and Hold Out who, build this up to be the greatest thing greatest thing ever, and then I have a life too, so I can't make the game. And it was like, well, yeah, that you had a life before this. It just turns out it took a lot more time, and you weren't ready to, really dive into it. So we just saw a lot of that. I mean, even what is that Carnival game that we saw at E3 a year ago? The one that takes place in London. Not Carnival. They look like clowns though. We Happy Few. I mean, same thing with that. Yeah. They released this stupid game, and there's what?
I forgot about that one. I own that game. When is it?
4.5 minutes of content. I mean, on launch, it's early access. We're building it. It's just it's rubbed so many people.
I gotta check on that one. I gotta check on that one again because they've got to be releasing soon.
I know we talked about it a couple months ago, and they were working on stuff, but it was just like, God, the launch was so atrocious because there was nothing to do, and it's just upsetting that there's this, when you see a concept for a game, and my initial reaction is, it's never going to come out, and it's a negative attitude to have, but it's based off of so many past experiences with games that it's kind of the only way that you can think about it. It's a negative attitude, but what are you going to do?
Yep. So they're now saying summer of 2018 for We Happy Few. So
that's good.
It should be in the next couple months. I mean, they've got a couple months to put it out, and I own the game. So they did stop putting out these updates to their alpha because I think they didn't want to show everything. They want to have it actually be a release of a game. So it'll be interesting to see how much they have done in the last 6 months now, and then until whatever they get done from now until the release date, because they haven't really put out any updates since then. All right, do we want to do this game giveaway really quick?
Yes, sir. What do we got?
All right, so I have a copy of Miscreated. So I'll give away a copy. I mean, are we good with?
Yeah, that's great.
Miscreated. All right. So this will be a 60 points raffle. If you don't own Miscreated, definitely it's one we play every once in a while.
Good game to have.
Yeah, good game to have in your library. So 60 points. Just do !! giveaway in chat, and then we'll do this in the next 30 minutes or so, 40 minutes. We'll go ahead and roll for this one, and then right before the end of the show, we'll give it away. So. I keep having issues. I may have to switch my headphones. I keep having issues with these headphones.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure. Not sure exactly what's going on there. But let's go ahead and transition to H1Z1. I think I've got a long conversation here with H1Z1. So there's a new mode that's in here that started on Friday, and came very close to playing it, but unfortunately I did not. It's called Revive Fives. It's a brand new rule set, and it's part of the unranked arcade mode. It's just like a regular 5-man game, but the big difference is there's a revive system. So we saw this a couple of test videos ago or something. We saw maybe it was on that big live stream. We saw them testing out reviving of players, but you can pick up your teammates now. So it's similar to similar to something like Fortnite, where your teammate can go down and they don't die. They go down, you can revive them, and then they can bandage, so on and so forth. It says if you're a fan of the two-tapping your victims, not to worry, a headshot is still a kill. There's no coming back from that one, which kind of sucks because I feel like you kind of get screwed a lot on stuff like that. And there's some new items in here as well. Some revive items. You can see some gun skin. I actually like this gun skin, the Transfusion AR-15. I think that looks really cool. But
it's almost should be a Valentine's Day theme with some of their skins, but.
Yeah, totally. There's totally some cool stuff you could do on there. Thank you, GF Disturbed, for the subscription on the Twitch Prime, or just the Twitch subscription.
4 months in a row.
Yes.
And that's a tier 2 subscription.
Well, awesome. We really appreciate that. So, thank you very much. Yeah. So here's the Skull store. Skull store. You can see this jacket, this T-shirt, and all this other stuff. Now, so that's all fine and dandy. Let's talk about PlayStation 4. So, obviously, it's no surprise that we have not had the best relationship with the H1Z1 people. And unfortunately, a lot of our original contacts, I even went through last night, Brian. I went through our email to look at the contacts we've had in the past, and I believe every single one of the people, besides Adam Clegg, no longer works at the company.
All of our contacts.
All of our contacts. So I did, like any good young person does, I took to Twitter. And I read 2 weeks ago my tweets when I asked them in one of their tweets for a key. Somebody came at me that used to watch the show that said, well, why would you get a key? You know, all you do is bash the game. So I took to Twitter again last night, and thanks to Sarah Flanagan, who is the community manager, she hooked me up with the PR guy for Daybreak, who literally, it's his Twitter, his description is PR guy at Daybreak Games. His name is Justin. And we direct messaged back and forth, and I was able to get a copy of the PS4 version of H1Z1, and the servers were up until midnight. I'd got the game installed around 11, so I had the opportunity to actually play through a couple of games. So what you're going to see behind you here is some B-roll that I recorded last night off of the PlayStation 4 version of H1Z1. And I'll go over some of the differences here. Now, just to let everybody know, this is going to be released free to play on the PlayStation 4 next Tuesday. So it will be out May 22nd. For free to play for everybody. Or the open beta is going to be starting, but it's going to be available for everybody to play next Tuesday. And so from what you can see here, this is my first game, and I specifically made sure I did not watch any videos or look at any controller layouts or anything until I got into the game. So the triangle is your interact button here. I'm going through here and picking up some stuff. There's I think I'll show it here in a minute maybe, of switching.
It's a lot of loot.
Yeah, there was a lot of loot. And the games were full. They gave a whole bunch of people. There was a sign up form on their website, so you could sign up to play this. And there was a whole bunch of people that had it. My lobbies were filling up pretty quick. So let me scroll back because I missed what I wanted to show. I think right over here, I'll switch to this different weapon. I pick up an M16, I think, and M17. And they've got the way that they deal with not having an inventory, which they don't, by the way. There is no inventory on this thing. There's no screen that pulls up. There's nothing. There's this information wheel. This is pretty common on console games for anybody that's played any console shooter. This is typically your weapon swap thing. It's this wheel in the middle of the screen, and you can hold 3 primary items. So you can see that there. I can switch between the guns. And
are those your lower left directional buttons, or how are you switching those?
I don't know. It's it's the lower left directional button. I think it's L1 on the controller brings it up. I've got a screenshot later of the controller layout, which I'll show. Okay. But I think it's L1 to bring up that wheel. And overall, I think. So I had a couple. I was having some frame drop issues. Again, this is closed beta. I will, but to not to go after that. I did have my game running through a capture card, so it could have been, and it's not a new capture card, so it very well could have been my capture card stuttering, which you'll see here. So up far in the distance,
locally,
here,
you didn't see this. Did you see that locally? You saw this?
Yeah, I did, but I don't know if because I was passing through the PS4 through my capture card into the TV. So I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what the problem was. So I did see some of that. Overall, the game it felt pretty good. There definitely was a delay between picking things up and opening doors. Again, going through a capture card, even though it's quote low latency, there is still latency included in there. So I'm not gonna hammer them for that. But you can see now I've got my third gun, which is the shotgun. And I can go and what I do here is hop right in the vehicle. They've got that in there. The green zone is in there, and on this PS4 version, I don't know how it is on the PC now, but the gas is there on start, which I think is on the PC too. They added that a while ago. But the gas is there on start, and I think if this is the clip I remember, I chase after a guy, and I think I kill him if this is my proper clip, and the shotgun actually works. Nice. And let me back that up real quick, because that is one of the key differences you're going to see right here is that they have added scopes to a lot of guns. This is on the PC version. There is no scope on the shotgun. But they've got this scope on here. And of course this is different than playing on the PC. Typically, you're not sitting so close to it. You're sitting sometimes across the room on the couch. So they've got to add.
What I do.
Yeah, that's what Brian does, which we always give him crap for. But you're not hugging the computer screen. Like I'm an arm's length away from my monitor when I'm sitting at my computer. Some people are sitting 8 to 10 feet away from their couch. Nisco's asking about the exploding loot. Yeah, when you kill somebody, the loot goes into a bag, and then you interact with the bag. And because there's no inventory system, which I like, by the way, because inventories on PCs, on consoles, do not work. They never have, they never will. So everything explodes onto the ground.
Sorting through it.
Exactly, and that was, I actually really liked how they did that, because there literally is no inventory to open up. Let me get rid of the watermark here, so I can, in the bottom right hand corner, it's a little tough to see. Let me see if I can zoom in on it actually. So what you'll see here in the bottom right hand corner is the only inventory that exists, and there's emotes, grenades, bandages, and med kits. So that's the inventory, if you want to call it that, that's at the bottom of the screen. And then as we move over to the left side, you can see there's your zone, your mini map. It gives you health indicator, or gives you kind of health indicators for your head, your helmet, and your body armor, and then your health. So those are the indicators up on the screen. There is no inventory, which I gotta say they did a great job with. And then actually I didn't realize there was stuff at the top of the screen too. Moving on to the top, you can see there how many players are left, how many you've killed. They've got this little thing which is a little controversial, because it does show car spawns and stuff on the map, and it does show kind of some points of interest on the map, which I know people aren't going to like because it's not hardcore enough. But it does have that up there, and then your gas is spreading notification, and then there's your inventory wheel back there again. So this is the playthrough, and this is a new gun, this KH-43, and I think I shoot it here at some point. But I'd say overall, it's from I think I played 6 games in about an hour and a half stretch or so. I'm going to tell you, Brian, it was a lot better than I expected it to be.
Good.
And I'm not. That's not a rip on H1Z1. That's a rip on how hard it is to take a game that was originally designed to be used with a keyboard. Which, I mean, how many keys are there on a typical on a regular US keyboard? However many keys are on a regular keyboard. The game is built around that, and they have shuffled it down to a literal handful of combinations on the controller. And I'd say they did just as good a job as anybody else. I'd put it right up there with
probably a better experience on a console. Personally, I think it could be a better experience on a console than it is on PC.
And you'll see here too. Here's another one of these scopes on a gun. This one is kind of more like a holographic sight. You don't really zoom in a whole lot, but you do have that scope up on the screen.
Yeah.
So this is the holographic sight that's on this KH-47, I think is the name of the gun. And you can see with the mini map here, it shows where you are.
They don't have those on PC, do they?
No, they don't. I don't believe they have this on PC.
I can't imagine them not bringing these to PC.
I don't think so.
I mean, it seems
no.
like it would be better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they're not on PC right now. I don't believe they're on PC. I could be wrong on that though.
I'd be surprised if people don't demand it. And
it was a good gun.
Eventually they do.
And what you're seeing here is me going through each of the guns and aiming down the sights for demonstrating it in the video this evening. So to hop back in the car here and ride around. I've got to tell you though, Brian, I really enjoyed playing this on the PS4. There's a couple of advantages of playing on a console over PC. One of them, 100%, is hackers. Plain and simple, folks. Hackers. Very, very tough to exist on the PS4 or Xbox One. Does it still happen? Yes. It's a much tougher environment. And I think that hackers is arguably the biggest issue that H1Z1 has right now. King of the Kill. The biggest issue, you could make the argument, the biggest issue it has is...
the thing that's killing the game.
The thing that's killing the game is that you die to random people all the time from all over the place. So it's... you don't have to worry about this on the closed consoles as much. And you see here, this is a long gunfight I have back and forth with this guy. And you can see we're firing at a decent range. I did not feel aim assist clicking. There may have been. If it was slight enough that it wasn't pulling my reticle towards him.
Yeah, it's not swinging your gun.
It's not swinging my gun. There may have been a little aim assist. There needs to be a little aim assist. It's necessary.
What would be smart of them is to maybe have the bullet register if it's going close enough, and maybe, but not swing your gun around like I see some games do. Yeah,
so I didn't really notice aim assist being a thing here. This is a pretty far gunfight. I mean, this was a decent gunfight. And you can see the zone is still updating, and they've got their similar countdown timer for using medical supplies and stuff, and keeping track of your ammo. And there's the ledger in the upper left that shows who has been killed by who. So I would I would say I had a really good time playing this. And I'll run over here and you'll see that bag explosion again when I get over here to loot this guy's item. So I don't know if there necessarily is or isn't aim assist. It was tough to tell. I didn't experience aim assist.
But that's good if they can get it close enough to where you can't quite tell. That means that they did it right.
Yeah. So I've got a couple of other clips as well. I don't think anything of relevance really happens in them. It's more of just the same. Let me see if I could switch over to this one. Let's see here. Okay. I don't remember what all goes on in this clip. It's the same kind of concept. By the way, the parachuting is still terrible in this game. I mean, it is literally impossible to land where you want to land. I will literally try to land in a location and land, 200 feet away from it. Like I believe at this thing, I'm trying to land at this farm out here, and I don't believe I hit it. So that's still a little bit of an issue. I'm gonna land right in the middle of the woods here, which is not gonna do me any good. But these were 100 or this in this case this was a 95 person game, and I'll tell you it felt like H1Z1. That's not in a bad way, but it felt like H1Z1.
Yeah,
but there were no hackers that I could tell.
Well, and maybe they'll get some of their player base back, because I mean, if you can go into a game and not feel like you're just bombarded with hackers, I'm assuming that you'll be able to get some of those people that enjoyed H1Z1, but didn't enjoy that part of H1Z1 back.
Yeah, and I'll tell you,
if they have a console, why not? It's free to play.
Yeah,
jump in and
I'll tell you this too, Brian. H1Z1, the King of the Kill variant, no longer has to be or tries to be the hardcore, military sim or the hardcore survival. This game felt really good with a controller, which I know is not the popular thing. PC Master Race, totally get it. But a game like this that is so casual, same thing with Fortnite, like it or not, I don't really like it on the with the controller or on an Xbox or PlayStation, but it makes sense. It's so casual that it works. PUBG, I think their biggest issue, it doesn't feel good on a controller. The game is too advanced. I believe there's some potato aim in this clip. I think I'm remembering how my fate ends out on this one. But I'll just tell you, overall, I had a very positive experience playing this. I didn't have any negatives. Of it. There was plenty of loot. The game is smooth. I mean, you're seeing the recording right directly off my capture card here. The game is running at a fine pace. Oh yeah, this is bad right here. I'm gonna continue to miss every single shot. Actually, no, I did kill that guy.
Oh, nice.
Maybe this is a different clip I'm thinking of. So yeah, this is H1Z1. I'm just gonna let this kind of run in the background here while we talk about some other stuff about it. But it's free to play. Open beta is starting May 22nd. So if you've got a PlayStation 4, you can hop into this. And you know the cool thing, and they make a good point of this. There is no inventory or crafting system, which I'm telling you, Brian, they've nailed. Because there's no reason to have a crafting system or anything like that. It's just not necessary. The Molotov is in here, as you can see. How this guy kills me. So you can see how that plays out.
What you get for not picking up that helmet?
What are you gonna do? You can see the end game screen. I think is kind of similar. You gain, you get rank and stuff like that. It goes through. It creates a little leaderboard, so you can see how that kind of looks post game and whatnot.
Cool.
So yeah.
Well, I hope that they I hope that this is successful for them, and it'll be interesting to see how the console community picks it up, because they may be able to pick up a whole new set of people because there's a lot of people that don't have a PC that can play games like this.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you, like it or not, it flows very well on the console. So real quick here, I've got a couple screenshots I want to show you. So this is how the map UI looks in the game. The middle button on the PlayStation pulls up the map. You can zoom in. You see yourself. I would assume you see your teammates. I was playing solos. So you see that there on the map. Here's the main menu screen. Looks very similar to what you'd expect on the PC version. And then I went through some of the customization settings where you can see all of the different skins and stuff like that. Skins are still in here. They're not going anywhere. Here you can buy some crates here with some money. Now, interestingly enough, you do not sign into your Daybreak account. So there is not, that indicates to me there's not going to be any attempt at cross-platform. Because that's impossible when you don't have an account linked. Plus, they're different systems, I would imagine. And then this is how that's how it looks there on the home screen. So pretty cool. Nice. I had the opportunity to play that again. I want to thank Justin over at Daybreak for hooking me up with the key super last minute. I just saw them tweet about it again last night and just didn't have a good way to get in touch with them, so tweeted out. And thanks to Sarah and Justin over at Daybreak for helping me out and getting me the key. And Brian, we've never done this before, but coming up here in a few weeks, I guess we need to do a PlayStation 4 game of the week and play some H1Z1. I mean, it only makes sense.
Maybe we can do it on a Saturday.
Why? Well,
because we don't have a large group of people that have a PlayStation.
I bet you there's more people that have PlayStations than you know in our community. A lot of people have PlayStations.
We can always do a test run of a Saturday.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I think we could. No. Oh, absolutely. Brian, you'd be there. I'd be there. Ross would be there. Lance would be there. Sounds
like our Saturday night.
I've got a lot of other peoples that could be. MDC would be there. He's a big. He's played some PlayStation games with us. We've got we've got a huge list of people.
Joe says he's not purchasing a copy for PlayStation on a free-to-play game. Joe's too cheap for that.
Too cheap for the free-to-play. I seriously, Brian, we could totally do that for Friday night game. It's only 5 players max anyway to fill up five players to fill up a lobby anyway. We could totally do that. We're doing a Friday night game night. I'm overruling with my thing. We're gonna do a game night. We'll poll our community. We'll see what people have. But I'm convinced there's more than 5 PlayStations in the community
that are willing to play H1Z1 again.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, this is the thing. It's cool to play. It's interesting to play the PC game on the console.
We'll just think of how many, with no hackers, how many people we could get.
But that's my point, is it's a different experience. There's no hacking. There's no BS. The game just kind of plays out.
Yep.
And that's nice. It's convenient. Now, is it going to last? I have no idea. I don't know. It's a free-to-play game on the console, which are popular, because you have a lot of people that either can't afford or they're younger. Like when I was younger,
yeah, people can go play Fortnite
they
at
will,
the moment, which you just have to see. Like, do people pick it up? The big thing I was going to mention here. So I have a thing here called China, and Jace Hall, who's the guy leading the league, that competitive league
H1P1
for H1Z1.
Yep.
He was making a comment here. In the last report, we reached 60,000 followers in 52 hours. No signs of slowing. I don't have the words. And it reminds me a lot of that. Look at how many players we have with China. I mean, back when H1Z1, like, they're just so amazed at the numbers, but that was what ended up taking them down in the end. But I just wanted to point that out. Like, he's been making comments and doing a lot of play on the Chinese servers. I think that they are kind of maybe console, but possibly on PC. I think they're going for the China market. I think that is their ultimate goal. I think they've kind of given up on the American market.
Well, and I
think they're going all in on China.
And I think that the console version of the consoles are significantly more popular in the US than they are almost anywhere else.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think for PC competitive play, I think that's where they're going for the China market, because he's amazed at how many people are playing over there. And look at all these people, but you can't get that in the United States.
Yeah.
So I think that their whole competitive scene is going to go that direction.
And Ross is saying in the chat, I think the BR craze is only big on Fortnite because it's the only thing to play on console. There is a market room for H1Z1 for sure. And that's a very accurate statement. I mean, realistically, if you want to play, you're either playing PUBG on the Xbox, which from all accounts, I haven't played it personally, but from all accounts is not that glamorous. It's not that glamorous at all. Or you're playing Fortnite, and that's about it. So that is a valid point. If you got these people that are playing Fortnite on the console, maybe there is some. Here's the thing: it's free, so people are going to play it just because it's free, and that's the nature of free to play games.
Well, and that's the thing, is it'll be interesting to see. But when you have all these choices, that's where you got to figure out, like, okay, which way are they going to go? Yeah, and you just never know. I can't guess what China is going to be more likely to play out of the two. In America, it seems like they're going for Fortnite, but I don't know between H1Z1 and Fortnite what they're going to lean towards. I mean, personally, I would think that China maybe would go for H1Z1 just because there's less restrictions and less risk with hacking. And I think America is going to lean towards, I think we're going to have a splitting of the ways, and America is going to go Fortnite, and I think China is going to go H1Z1. Yeah, I think that Fortnite is going to be more strict and actually go for lawsuits and do things to try to shut it down and not accept the hacking in the way that H1Z1 did. Here's
the thing: like it or hate it, competition, especially on the console front, is very important. Like it or hate it, there's plenty of competition on the PC, but on the console front for battle royale games, on the PlayStation there's one game, on the Xbox there's two. Now there's two on the PlayStation with the release of H1Z1. So we'll see what happens. I would imagine it's gonna have some success just because of the nature. It's a free to play game. And I remember when I was younger, I was always looking for free to play games on console. You don't have discretionary income when you're in high school to just go out and I don't say piss away to mean just you get rid of, but piss away $60 on a title.
And being that it's not a pay to win game, and if you look at a game like Clash of Clans and all those are pay to win games. If you want to get ahead in those games, you can pay some money and you'll jump ahead levels, right?
Yeah.
You'll progress. These are games that are, when they're purely skins, you can play those games and you don't feel like, just because you're a kid and you don't have money, you don't feel like you're being held back because of that. So I think that you will get a lot of that market. All right, and one thing I was going to mention with Just Survive, or H1Z1 as Nick likes to call it, there was a little bit of communication
Finally.
from MMO Derelict.
Yes.
Who seems to be the only person kind of left with Just Survive. And this was on their Discord. And he said, so this was today or yesterday. It says today because they took a screenshot.
This was today. It was a post on Reddit today, I think.
Says next patch has some changes for rating. So he's talking about a patch, first of all.
Good sign.
Which is a surprise. Mainly in the recipes for boom and structures. I'll be posting to Reddit sometime this week. And then he says, I'll post and explain about our dev plans and schedule on Reddit sometime this week. We want to be as accurate as possible and not dribble out information and deal with all the questions in one lump.
Smiley face.
There's still no real information.
Well, that
is the current state.
There is real information, though. I mean, the real information is that they're not closing down the game tomorrow. I mean, that's the real information. They're scheduling a patch. I would love,
how much of this stuff though was before, how much of this was happening before they had the layoffs and they're now just putting it out?
Who knows? But I when I was reaching out to Justin to get the key for the PS4 version, I did ask and I did reference the fact that we've had developers on the show in the past, and we'd love to have somebody back on again to talk about the game, and he seemed to be open to that. So I think it would be cool to have somebody on to talk about both of these games. Well, they'll definitely come on to talk about the PS4 version, which I do want them to talk about.
The remaining employees haven't listened to our past podcasts, so that's good.
That was kind of my thing. I was like, hey, you can't hate us if you don't know us. We'll definitely get either Justin or somebody from the H1Z1 team on in the near future when they're after their launch date to kind of talk about the PS4 version and the challenges, because I think that in itself is more fascinating than the actual game itself. Is how do you take the keyboard and the mouse and convert that to this? How do you convert all of those keys to this in a good way? And they've done a hell of a job with it.
You've got to simplify it, and I think that's what Fortnite. If you look at Fortnite, I think they in the beginning said, all right, how do we need to make this
simple
for the console and PC? And so their original design was friendly for both. And then I think that H1Z1 was thinking PC the whole time, and then console down the road, right?
Yeah.
So, but they designed it for the PC. I think that's why you don't really think about that with Fortnite, because they said, well, let's have the minimum amount because we need to make it for console right away. But I think they did a good job. I mean, that's the thing, is you just have to simplify it. You have to simplify it down to the most common elements, the base elements, and simplify the med kit process, simplify all these things.
Yeah.
So,
and I'd say they were successful with it. So again, thanks Justin over at the H1Z1 team. Good news on the Just Survive front. There's going to be an update. How long will it last? But I'm hopefully by next Tuesday, we've got the full Reddit post that we'll go through and cover what the future of Just Survive is. Because, I mean, that's really what's up in the air right now, is what does Just Survive do going forward?
And supposedly, as he said, in this coming week, so during this week here, there should be at least an update put out, some sort of a post.
Yes. So we're looking forward to that.
Very good. All right. So let's jump down to talk about kind of a surprise announcement.
I'll let you take this one, Brian. Go for it.
But it is something that I think we did see coming. Just
history repeats itself.
So Cliff Blasinski, who's the guy who put out, he's the founder of Boss Key Studios, or Boss Key Productions. He recently put out a game called Radical Heights, and this is something where I didn't expect this to happen so quickly, but he put out a tweet that says, as of today, Boss Key Productions is effectively no more. We talked a little bit about this last week, and I mentioned, how long is this going to be around, because they don't have a good track record. And And, 4 years ago, he says, I set out to make a world-class video game studio, and I hired some of the best talent in the video game industry. They worked tirelessly to produce quality products. And while we had our ups and downs, I'd like to think that we had fun doing it. Lawbreakers, which you may remember us speaking about in the past, was a great game that unfortunately failed to gain traction.
That's accurate.
Which is true.
The game was fun. We played it. It was fun.
It was a well-made game.
Yeah.
It's just you can't compete against.
It was too similar. It was too similar to Overwatch. It was literally
without
Overwatch.
without that kind of edge to it. Like it just wasn't quite.
It was like what was the free to play one? Is it called not Paladins? The free Overwatch game, and that game was fine too. But it was just
Paladins.
Okay, maybe it was, but you're not Blizzard, and you're trying to compete with Blizzard, but it's a crappier version of Overwatch, and it wasn't free.
Yeah,
that was the kind of the kicker with it.
Yes, I mean they would have had to have come up with some sort of another type of.
It needed to be free.
Way
because
the whole skins thing. I mean that's what really. Works for some of these games, because if they can get these skins going, they can make that money from it. People don't want to pay $30 for a video game nowadays that, Overwatch, that Blizzard is going to put out a game that is worth $60.
It's kick ass. Yeah.
Maybe $30. You'll get it on sale for $30. He couldn't have offered something that would make me pay over $20 for that game. I mean, I'd rather play Overwatch. Right.
Well, that's the problem. You can't create a subpar Overwatch and then charge for it.
Price.
Yeah, Paladins was free, so it was like, well, hell, I don't have Overwatch, so this is what I'm going to play. And it's like
you either put in money and went for Overwatch, or you went for the free to play game.
Yeah, but you weren't going to pay for a crappier version of Overwatch.
Yeah, and so I think that's what really got him. In the chat they mentioned it came out the wrong time. Nisco says it came out the wrong, and that's true. If it would have come out before Overwatch, it would have gotten traction. If it would have come out, much later when Overwatch is no longer interesting to people, which, I don't know when that's going to be. I don't know if that's going to be anytime soon. I don't know that I maybe it would have taken off, but it didn't. And so as he said, too little, too late. And they're pretty much closing down the company. They will keep up those servers in the near future, so I don't know exactly what that means.
Soon TM.
Yeah. So for a little while they'll have those servers up, but I'm assuming there's a point where they're not going to be making any money off of it. I assume that they're not going to be charging for the skins if there's no longer a company behind it. So
what's frustrating to me about Radical Heights specifically is they closed it down before they even, not that they finished it, because that doesn't make sense, but half of the buildings weren't skinned. The loot spawns were like, a lot of buildings did not have loot because they were unskinned. You had towns full of buildings that you couldn't enter. It's like they shut down the game before they made it
fully into their alpha.
Well, exactly. That's kind of the thing here. It's like they shut it down so early. It's like, hey, Brian, we're going to start a company where we make custom plastic cups where we put your logo on them, company's logos on plastic cups.
Yeah.
And then we buy the 3D software to mark up the cups. And then we go, oh yeah, we're shutting down the cup business. Just, we didn't have any traction. Well, you never made a cup. You built the model in Maya 3D, and then you said, oh, nope, no, thank you. And that seems to be the problem here.
He was running out of funding, and so he was hoping,
run out of money.
That he was hoping that they would pull something like they were able, to do with Conan.
They should have charged for it, though. That was the problem. Is you made a free game, Conan, and this is the catch-22. You're a free game with a big player base, ideally, like Fortnite, or you charge for it like Conan and literally save the company from bankruptcy. So it's kind of a catch-22. They couldn't have charged for Radical Heights because it wasn't finished enough.
It wasn't polished enough.
Yeah, it wasn't in a state where anybody in the right mind would have purchased it. And you don't make enough money off skins on a game like that to, I think, pay the bills right off the bat. What was it out for, Brian?
It's only out for like, what, a month and a half, 2 months?
No, it's probably closer to 2 or 3 months, yeah.
2 or 3 months.
but not
But
that
that's
long
the thing
enough.
is it was rampant with hackers. But the thing is, I'm sure they didn't want to put down the $14,000 or whatever it would cost to have the full license for the anti cheat.
Yeah,
I think for them, time was running out for money. So,
it's unfortunate. But
but
what are you gonna
you
do?
know, hey, and he's stepping away from the gaming industry for a while, which is probably smart. I mean, he wanted to make a video game and he wanted so bad, but obviously some decisions were made incorrectly somewhere along the line, because they had two decent titles,
Yeah,
two titles that I mean, they were not really poorly made games.
I think they both were promising. I mean, I thought, I mean, Lawbreakers was promising. Nevertheless, it never took off. But it was. I mean, it wasn't. It was a little disaster.
It was
but
out just
promising.
over a month.
Really?
He's April 10th is when it got released, so it was
Wow.
out just over a month.
Okay, I'm totally off on that. Crazy. I'm glad we got to play when we did. I mean, I'm glad we did it for a game of the week and had the opportunity to play. I really enjoyed it, Brian. I mean, it was fun. Yeah. In moderation. They didn't give it enough time to, and that would make sense. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, you talk about there may being a money issue, because they literally pushed out a game where 3/4 of the objects were not skinned, or 3/4 of the structures were not skinned. So I guess that makes sense.
And you know, if they were really serious about it, they would have put full anti-cheat in there and gave it a real chance. But I think that it was just let's see what happens. Let's see if it's a breakout hit.
Yeah.
And it's not that it wasn't. Like it had to get, but they probably looked at it. Well, with these numbers, we wouldn't be able to make enough to pay our studio costs. Let's just shut it down.
Yeah. So I wonder if he'd be interested in talking about the game. Like,
I don't know.
Wonder if he'd be interested in doing an interview.
Taking a break.
Wonder if he'd want to do an interview though.
I don't know.
I'm just curious. I mean, I think it'd be interesting to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah,
and not in a mean way, but I mean, hey, you've got two products now that have not succeeded in this.
A week or two, just kind of, step back and see, because he's definitely right now in that kind of hurt stage of, I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, he's made the statement of, I want to spend some time with my family. So I don't think he's in a stage right now to ask, but
yeah, well, I'll reach out to him.
I bet it's something where you could come at him here in a little bit time and say, hey, we'd like just kind of a post-op interview.
Seriously.
Don't say it like that, but
no, but it's the God's honest truth. I mean, I want him to come on the show and talk about, you've two of your products here. Frankly, they both did not succeed. Let's talk about it. I mean, seriously, that's the kind of conversation I want to have. It's so great to talk about these games and all. I'm so fascinated by, the behind the scenes of it all. I mean, you decide, okay, I want to make a game. So you go through all these steps and all this stuff, and then the game comes out, and I wouldn't even, I put Lawbreakers more into this category, because this game never came out. It was never a finished product. But Lawbreakers specifically is, you all this booth at PAX, and I mean, I've got Lawbreakers merch in this bag, I think, from PAX. I mean, all this stuff printed up, and it's like, and then what happened? I'm really fascinated by that stuff. So it'll be interesting to see. I'd really like to get him on the show here, so that we can maybe talk with him about some of that stuff, and maybe go over, kind of, what do you think of the early access community? I mean, stuff like that.
Well, he was talking about how Epic was hiring away his developers.
Yeah,
things like that.
It's called poaching. It happens. It happens in every business. I mean, it absolutely happens.
He's already struggling with money. The amount it takes to get another developer, get them up to speed, like that is critical. It would have cost him a lot of money to replace those developers.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that if they were truly poaching them, like that was putting a big hit on his bottom line that he didn't have time. He didn't have the funds and the time to recover from.
Exactly. So
all right. So
too.
I think we can. Well, are we good on time? How much time do you want to go?
We got about 10. We've got 10 minutes will get us to 2 hours. Do you want me to do
All right.
game of the, or current players? Do you have something else you want to cover real quick?
Well, so I was just going to mention Darwin Project had 1 million, I guess, downloads.
Oh, awesome.
With the free to play game, but 1 million downloads. So they were saying thank you for your support.
Great.
So definitely that's been a year and 2 months, right?
Yeah.
About a year and 2 months.
Year 2 months. Yeah.
Since they first announced, because there was nothing before that out there, and they're at 1 million downloads. So that's good for them.
Congratulations.
Hopefully that continues to grow. And they've really just recently picked up more of that traction.
Yeah, within the past couple of weeks
in people's hands. So that's good. 7 Days to Die. I put the one real note that I could find in there.
The forest.
Just a picture of some roads on there, and it's, I don't know. I mean, it looks like 7 Days to Die.
7 Days to Die. Let's see here.
But that was they was talking about how they're putting winding roads to houses, which that doesn't really look like a winding road.
It's not winding at all. And you can see the pixels. They literally are blocks.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So So anyways, I thought I put that picture in there because I just thought it was funny. He said, "Here's the winding roads up 2 houses."
This is the most 7 Days to Die picture. Like this perfectly describes this freaking game, which I love, by the way. But it perfectly describes this freaking game.
You play it in spite of the graphics.
I mean, literally, the road is just it. I mean, they're squares. You can see that it's like, oh, there's no anti-aliasing. Oh wait, no, it's just because it's just a square and there's no wind.
Yep.
What's it, like a 3-degree curve in the road?
Yeah, slightly winding.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So anyways, I thought that was kind of funny that he had put that in there, and that was like one of the only pictures I could really find, of something new and Alpha 17 to look forward to, and that was it. Winding roads, it is just like perfectly straight. The Forest, they came out with a patch, but it was mostly bug fixes. They're 1.05, but I'm hoping, those are the last few bugs that'll make it to where you have a really playable experience on Friday. And remember, we are doing Game of the Week on Friday of the Forest. So, but mainly it was just fixes. They added a brightness and contrast slider. And then other than that, it was mainly just adjustments. And Next Day Survival came out with an update, but they always are just doing patches. That's like a Russian development company.
Yep.
And you don't really hear much about it here, but it is a fun game. If you're into Arma and things like that, it's kind of that kind of a feel. It's a nice fun survival game. Ark came out with a very small update this week. This is the only update. There was 279. Well, it's small and there's nothing like new added, mostly adjustments. 279.275. But they just did adjustments to some of the animals and some fixes. They added a pin code to the refrigerator. I guess that'd be something new.
Oh, okay.
So your refrigerators can now have pin codes.
Steal all your
other than
meat.
Yeah. So other than that, it's pretty much just adjustments and fixes on Ark.
Cool. Yeah.
Fortnite. Now, Fortnite, I don't really want to spend a ton of time on this, but they did do their 4.1 patch in the last couple of weeks.
Do you want to cover
And they
that?
had an interesting mode where it's kind of like an Avengers theme. Like they have characters from Avengers on there.
So I played this.
Yes.
It's called the Gauntlet mode, and it actually is ending, I think, today or tomorrow. And it's pretty interesting. So it's your regular Fortnite game. You drop in with 100 people, but one person becomes this character from the Avengers. And there's a lot of flack over them being you're catering to children. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the goal here. This is a free to play game with 4 million active people. This Avengers Infinity War movie. It was the highest grossing box office movie ever. I mean, this is genius by Epic to put something like this in the game.
They understand that their player base is probably 12 years old.
No, it's probably a little bit. It's probably 14 or 15 to be honest with you, Brian. Because there's a lot of people. I mean,
but I'm saying that's a huge chunk of their player base.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at the submissions for that dancing video, like these were kids that were 12 to 15.
Yeah,
a huge chunk of them. And so, I think that I think it's smart for them to play and cater to that audience.
Oh, absolutely. And so,
but I heard a lot of positive things. I listened to or watched a YouTube video of just some guys talking about playing this mode. and it sounds like it's a lot of fun. I mean, I'm just not really into Fortnite. Like, I just don't get as much joy out of some other people playing Fortnite.
And I'll tell you, I'm having a similar experience with Fortnite that I have with other multiplayer games. I've been actually playing Fortnite so I've got a couple of buddies I went to high school with that aren't big video gamers. They used to be. We used to play games frequently on Xbox Live, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, stuff like that. But since then, they've not really played a whole lot of video games, and I've actually been able to reconnect with them, and I talk with them daily in group text messages. But I've actually been playing with some of my friends that I haven't played video games with in probably 5 or 6 years over Fortnite. Which has been a cool experience for me because it's kind of and again, I'm not saying the game is amazing because of that, but it's bringing me back to that. We always talk about your first experience playing, and your first Call of Duty that you ever played was your favorite, and it kind of brings you that nostalgia feeling. And I'm getting that with Fortnite because I'm playing games with the people I grew up playing video games with, which is really cool. So I didn't like this gauntlet mode. I thought it was kind of BS. This guy's way OP. I didn't really enjoy it. He literally just rapes everybody in the game. It's ridiculous.
Well, so they're doing the 4.2 patch. It was supposed to be today.
Yeah.
But they had a bug in it, and so they pushed it to tomorrow.
Okay.
So he'll be taken out of there tomorrow because they moved the update out to then. So tomorrow should be the 4.2, and then they'll have there's a new weapon and things like that. So there should be next week. We'll talk about the new update that they've done for 4.2 on there.
Yeah. All right. Well,
and one thing I wanted to show an image just because we've kind of talked about this in the last couple of weeks. We've mentioned it maybe in the last month, but we've been talking about like Tencent and these companies and how big of a share that they have. If you look, Tencent is an $18.1 billion is the amount they make from video games compared to, you look at Sony, Apple, which I'm assuming is probably on their phones, mobile games, right? Or tablets. I don't know what all they're considering with Apple.
It's mobile games. Yeah, absolutely.
Microsoft. And then there's Activision Blizzard, which is $6.5 billion. Google is $5.3 billion with games. It's got to be on Android. EA is $5.1 billion. Nintendo is $3.6 billion compared to $18.1 billion from Tencent. So I just wanted to give a little bit of I found that graph really interesting for the market share. A company that we never really even heard about, a year ago?
Yeah. Before PUBG, you didn't really hear a lot about them.
And I'd mentioned, I put a note in here: Supercell, Riot Games, Epic Games, Netmarble Games, Ganera, which I don't know about, Glue Mobile, Pocket Gems, Miniclip, Maxwell Anger, Bluehole, Activision Blizzard, and Ubisoft. They have percentages in all of those companies. So they're very much in the market. Now, one thing that I heard, we had mentioned something in the last couple of weeks about them having some super cool anti-cheat, right?
Yeah.
Well, here in 2015, there was a thing that discovered that they were actually doing something to trick the anti-cheats. So I don't know if those numbers, if people are basing it off of information that they knew about before 2015, but they actually found what they were doing was actually making it easier to exploit in the games. So I don't know, maybe they have such a big share because they're catering to their clients. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. 2015, they found that the software was detrimental to end user protection if used. So
yeah, China number 1.
Yeah, and so they actually, Tencent put in stuff to actually make it easier to cheat.
Shocker.
In China, which is a shocker. Anyways, so.
All right. Well,
I think that's all the general news that we have.
I always appreciate little tidbits like that. That's cool stuff. I like that. Thank you, Brian. All right. So let's real quickly do current players. I don't have a lot on here, but we'll rattle through some of this stuff real quick here. All right. Moving on to current players. H1Z1, King of the Kill, currently playing 2,805, the 24-hour peak, 5,603, with a 7-day peak of 8,290. Ark Survival Evolved, 25,697 players currently playing that. The 24-hour peak, 38,746, with a 7-day peak of 50,113. Conan Exiles is still holding a player base a week after launch, which is better than it was before. 28,016 currently playing. The 24-hour peak, 41,478, with the 70 peak of 49,308. Not too terribly far from Ark if you look at these numbers side by side. Pretty close to Ark, which is impressive. We'll see if it holds up with that. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds currently playing 265,634. Your 24-hour peak, 1.5 million. Your 70 peak, 1.8 million. And Brian, I'll tell you, I was really shocked with those Conan numbers. Typically, game launch, great. I mean, we've seen this new update, great. You know, numbers for a solid week, gone. Conan's holding 50,000.
People are giving it a chance, and they're realizing, oh, there's a lot of content here.
That's the key.
I think the issue is it was just like us, exact same issue. People played it, they maxed out, they never gave it another chance. They figured it'd be the same experience. Now that they're getting in there, they're playing and realizing, man, there's a lot of stuff to do. And like I've been playing for a week, and I'm still not like near maxed out.
Yeah,
like, I got to keep playing.
Absolutely.
So I think that hopefully they continue to keep those numbers for a bit.
And I think they will. There's no indication that they won't.
Yes.
All right.
So let's go and roll into game of the week, or not game of the. I put
tip of the week.
I don't know why it says game of the week there.
Because you did that yourself. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll fix that for the show notes. All right. So tip of the week is where we go through and either talk about a general sort of gaming tip or one for a specific game. Since we've been playing Conan, I'm going to give a tip for Conan this week. So this is tip of the week. All right. With Conan, they don't really have what you would consider like a med kit early on in the game. And so and I mentioned this a little bit earlier in the podcast, but keeping your thirst, your hunger, and your health at max takes a little bit of upkeep to maintain. So one thing that you initially need to do is make sure you keep that water skin full, because you may find yourself in an area where there just is no water. And so every time that you pass water, make sure you jump in the water, fill it up, and keep it at max. Also, as you level up, there's one really good ability that you can get that allows you to eat raw meat without getting poisoned, because you'll be surprised at how damaging if you go in and have some uncooked meat and you don't have this ability, it does hurt your health quite a bit. You're losing health at a very constant rate. And if you're thirsty at the same time, like, you don't regenerate health enough and you will die. Having this ability, it saves you from having to make a fire and get the meat cooked. It does spoil over time. So even if you cook a bunch of meat up, it may spoil and then you won't have any in your inventory when you need it. So that's one thing that I found is getting that ability quickly. I was able to then just kill animals and eat the meat directly without having to deal with the fire and all that. Now, one thing that in this game, what happens is you regenerate health as you eat food, and a timer shows up. So as you eat the food, a timer shows up. If you eat food right away, all it does is reset the timer. So you're not getting your max amount of health regen from that. So just eating 10 meat right in a row very quickly is not going to raise your health very much. It'd be almost the same as eating one piece of meat. So what you need to do is you'll eat a piece of meat, let the timers tick all the way down to the bottom, and then eat another piece of meat. And so your health will just continually gradually rise throughout that whole process. And so with this, it can be the smallest little item. It doesn't have to be a full set of cooked meat. It could be whatever kind of food you happen to have. But just make sure that you eat it over time, and then it actually regenerates your health fairly quickly. You do need to have a decent amount of water. So have your thirst all the way at the top, your hunger all the way at the top, and then that'll allow your health to grow and get capped. Then if at the very end, if you want to eat very quickly just to max out your hunger bar after you've gotten your health back, you can do that and it will fill it up. But there is definitely a reason that you would want to, if you have maybe 5 pieces of food, to sit there and eat them over time, just so that you can regain any health that you have lost. So that is tip of the week.
Alrighty. Thank you very much, Brian.
All right, so let's go ahead and we're ready to roll for this.
Yeah, go ahead. So let's see what we got.
All right, so this is for a copy of Miscreated. Amnon, do you think he wants it?
Probably not. I'd probably re-roll that one for him.
All right. So Bat Chain Puller, congratulations, awesome. Bat Chain Puller. And you have won a copy of Miscreated. So I'll send you a message in here. They've gotten weird with the whole Twitch
you have to whisper
messaging system. We'll figure out something. I'll get it to you.
Whisper. I'll tell you.
I'll send you a whisper.
So stupid. Why does everything have to be so freaking complicated? Why are we getting rid of our message system on Twitch? Just keep it. What is this whisper BS? I mean, no, really.
Yeah, it has to be like they have to be on. It creates a whole new, just something that's more difficult.
I mean, it's easier. God, it's so stupid. Like Twitch is not a social network. It's a place you go to watch streamers. Like it's not a social network. Never, I digress. All right. Well, congratulations, Bat Chain Puller. And I do quickly want to thank a couple of people for coming in with donations here during the show for our pack ship. Well, we're almost to $100 right off the bat here. $80 nice. In. I want to thank our friend Amnon for the $50 donation at the beginning of the show, as well as our friend Donnie, who donated $20, and then Alex, who donated $10 as well. So thanks to all those guys, and then another thanks again to Heisenberg for the sub, Green Man, and GF Disturbed. I want to thank all of those guys for chipping in to support the program, support the show, and get us out to PAX West 2018. We're super excited, looking forward to it, and I mean, nobody else is going to be providing the survival coverage like we do at PAX. There's nobody else doing it. You can get your general game coverage anywhere. We specifically, and sorry, I didn't realize GF Disturbed. I forgot. Ross has got 45 Twitch accounts that he donates to us on. So that's our friend Ross Racer. If we ever played board games with us on Saturday nights, he's in there for that. So thank you, Ross.
He's got all his different accounts. Yeah, he doesn't harass us.
I know. I mean, it's because they all get banned, so he's got to keep his different accounts alive, accounts active there. Thank you, Ross. But really, nobody else is going to be bringing you the content like we will be. I mean, we will walk around the show floor because we're media. We get in an hour before everybody else on Friday. And what we did last year was very quickly just scoped out who was interested.
We walked around the whole floor. Yep. Took a look, and that's where we noticed that
Darwin.
One booth, and we're like, hey, let's go check this out. And it was the Darwin Project. So that was one of the first interviews that we did out there on that day. So
so that's we're really looking forward to it. We're gonna bring you some fantastic content. We're really looking forward to the trip, and it'll be cool to see Brian and Lance again. We had a really, really good time in Boston last year, and I would imagine Seattle will be just as good, and hopefully won't be quite so cold. I don't think I'll have to worry about that.
I can't imagine. I mean, it's going to be warm.
Yeah, it won't be 25 degrees and snowing. No, I don't. Those are still New York. I didn't even bring any of those with me. So, all right. Well, again, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in here. Again, infectionpodcast.com/PAX for that, or you can head on over to the website, the support page, and do all of that information. Brian, thank you so much. And where can people find you on the internet? And by the way, what's going on with your headphones? I got to harass you on the air.
I don't know. They're good now.
I mean,
I was having issues. Like
every 5 minutes, you were swapping batteries in and out.
Well, like I got some new batteries, and it's like there's just an issue with them. They're not working. Look at all these batteries.
I mean, I saw literally you're in the middle of talking, and like I tried to interject, and you just keep talking, and then it's just this is what I see. It's like. The Miscreated is a great game.
See, I ordered. I didn't want to interrupt the show for the people that are audio.
Miscreated. Oh yeah, we're not talking over each. Oh, Miscreated. Oh yeah, sorry, I cut out.
Well, I didn't want to like interrupt the show, but I mean, I ordered new batteries, and it's like they're just like an issue with them.
You got to step up your podcast game, Brian. We're not a bunch of amateurs over here. Wireless. Come on. What do you?
I got stacks of new batteries, but this isn't wireless. It's what's so stupid about these headphones is it requires a battery.
It's because it's got to
work.
Yeah, well, it's because it requires power. There's you can't send voltage over a headphone jack.
I know, but what I've been thinking was what I should do is make a thing that actually connects here and then has a USB cable that
Ask,
runs off a USB?
ask Amnon. He's done that with those lights that we've got. He's rigged all his lights up to plug into AC outlets. He's an expert.
Yeah, I'm thinking of doing that because I could just do that and then run it along the cable, right? It's just so frustrating to me that I have to constantly swap out batteries on these things when they're plugged into my computer.
First world problems. Where can people find you on the internet?
Anyway, yeah, this should be the after show. But if you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, of course, you can go check out my blog, biteoftech.com. Also, make sure you go to our website, infectionpodcast.com. We've got our link to our Discord on there, our Steam group. If you like notifications right before the show starts, you can just subscribe to that. Also, we have a link to our YouTube channel, our Twitch. If maybe you're listening to this or watching it on YouTube and you'd like to join us for a live show, come jump on our Steam group, and then you'll get a nice little pop-up right before it happens. Our Discord is a place where you can go submit news. We talk about all kinds of interesting topics. We have people playing games throughout the week. Click those, and it's a nice free mobile app, desktop app. It's a really good service. And of course, the best way is you can come and join us live. So just if you have an opportunity on a Tuesday night, come join us because we have a lot of fun. Everybody's gabbing in the chat, and we have a really good community of people here.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Brian, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Friday night, we'll be playing The Forest on our dedicated server, so make sure you're in Discord to get the information, port, IP address, and password for that. You'll need that to get into that on Friday. We haven't done a board game night in a while. Maybe we'll do a board game on Saturday. And then we'll be back here next Tuesday for another episode of Infection. And then again, looking forward to a couple of shows in the next couple of weeks, probably within the next 2 months or so, with somebody from Conan and then hopefully somebody from the H1Z1 team to talk about the PS4 version of the game and how that's going. So look forward to that in the coming weeks. And then, of course, just not too far away, we'll be heading out to Seattle. Wheels will be up, and we'll be flying out to the West Coast to check out what's latest and greatest in video games and what. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Visit our website, infectionpodcast.com. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.